What's up, guys? Ivan Carranza here, and welcome to Bass Tone Tuesday. Today, I'm gonna show you my new touring setup, but before I begin showing you what I just built, I wanna tell you the reason why I'm doing this. So, as some of you might know, I'm playing a summer tour with the band Dr. Crapula. The last couple of videos, the vlogs, based on Tuesdays, have been about it, and if you haven't watched any of those videos, just check on my channel. You're gonna see plenty of content about it. And well, we were playing those shows, and we've been playing June, July, now August, and we got shows until October, and then there's a possibility of another tour in the beginning of the year. And what I noticed is that, I've been traveling a lot of traveling, especially since coming back from the pandemic where there was no travel. I also had a car accident, I couldn't walk, so there's a lot of traveling right now. And in the past, when I've played shows, I've been mostly the single person who's handled my gear when loading, unloading, and going to places. And I always take care of my stuff. I don't throw it around, I always have my cases, my gig bags, and I place all the stuff as carefully as I can so that the gear doesn't get damaged. But, recently, because we're playing many shows and we're traveling long distances, and we're also playing late shows because sometimes we're headlining events. Now, it's late, we want just to load things in the van as quickly as possible and then head to the hotel and sleep. Or, unloading, there's a very tight slot to put your stuff on stage, sound check, and then move on. Or change over between bands. You have to have everything ready and pack your stuff, put it on stage, take it out, and get ready to go. So sometimes gear gets roughed up a little bit, so it gets bumped. I've seen cases falling on top of other cases, and that is of course dangerous. So that's the main reason why I decided to get this new setup, because if I have gear that's expensive, that's valuable, I should invest in some protective stuff and a setup that allows me to carry all my gear, my equipment, which is, in the end of the day, they're my working tools. So this should allow me to take it from point A to point B as safely as possible. Okay, this is the first box, so the first piece of the puzzle. Let's open it up and see what is inside. For the first thing, we have a pedal train Metro 16. So let's open this up. Oh wow. Okay, this is pretty cool. I was not expecting this. Let me show you in a second what I mean. Now check this out. This is the new Metro or pedal train case. And as you can see, you have the handle. Of course, you have the main pedal compartment, and you have one compartment in front of the pedal board back as well. And let me say, this zippers and the quality of the back is much better than the one I have here, which is the Metro 20 that I got 2 years ago. And I was not expecting to get an upgraded back, even though this one is also okay to carry around local transportation, but this one feels a lot more sturdy, and the zippers are way cooler. So I think I might just use this as well when I'm just traveling around sometimes. but we have bigger plans. Now for the more interesting part, we have this big box, which I'm really excited about. I really took a long time to, really decide to whether I should buy this or not, but in the end, safety is important. So a pelly case. This is the 1510. It's fairly small. As you can see, it's the size of a little suitcase. It's carry-on size. It's easy to carry around like this. It also has a handle so that I can, let's see, yeah, I can carry it around. Got a handle on top, it's got a handle on the side, which is pretty useful because, like I said, safety is important and we're touring, so things get thrown around sometimes in the car, you're unloading, loading things in the van, things get hectic sometimes and I want my gear to be safe. So, and once you open it up, we have this. What is this? Lifetime membership. It smells like new, which is pretty dope. We have this eggshell protective layer, one thick foam layer, another thick foam layer, and we have one more at the bottom. So my plan is to, this is plug and, as you can see, this is, I can hard to see in the light, it is plug and form or whatever you call it. So it's pretty nice. So my idea is to place the pedal board here and see if I can get something else inside. The other thing that was missing, and it arrived a couple of days early, is this Chox, I think it's how it's pronounced, power supply. Fairly expensive. I think I paid 240 euros for it. It's a DC7. This is gonna power the quad Cortex, and it has some extra juice to power other pedals if I need it. And maybe I need to place it on another board if I need some more pedals at some point. But this is capable of powering the quad Cortex. But to be able to do it, we need some cables, some adapter cables. So let's start setting up the pedal board. This is the case that I've been using so far with the quad Cortex, and this is a neural DSP case, and it's really good. It's super sturdy. Really, this takes a beating, I'm pretty sure. Inside of it, you have the quad Cortex, very well protected. You have space for the power supply. You also have space for some cables here. The shoulder strap is also here. And this has been going with me inside a carry-on case with my clothes, or I've been carrying it just like this. But the power supply of the quad Cortex is not really that road or touring proof, I would say, which is why I got the Chox power supply, which got a very sturdy power connector. So I already tested, and the pedal board fits the belly case, which is awesome. And I'm gonna see now how I cut the plug and I don't know how to call it, the foam to make everything fit, and see if I can get some more stuff in there. I do have some clearance, about this much, so I'm gonna have to remove quite a bit of foam, I think. But the good thing is that the QC will definitely travel fairly safe. I think I'm going to hook it up and then cut out the board, because that way I can really measure easier how the board is gonna sit in relationship to everything else, you know. The pedal supply itself, you can see it is really flat, and it fits right below the pedal train, which is pretty nice. And I have to say, the construction is really solid. It looks like a little tank. It is light, which is also great because you don't want to have a really heavy power supply because you're carrying them more weight with your pedal board. This is pretty nice. Chox is offering this thing called the grip, which allows you to mount it on the pedal trains that are really flat without screwing anything. You know, screwing everything in. This little clamp to mount everything, and you get some screws and a hex key to mount it onto the board. Like this, beneath the board. That way you can place it onto the bottom of everything. So I'm gonna put it in the middle. Pretty nice because you see the Chox logo. So let's say there were some inconveniences, and it's been about 5 hours since that last portion where you saw me trying to hook up the Chox grip, and no matter what I tried, I couldn't get it to hold on the board. I scraped all the top portion of the board because one of the screws, or so to say, one of the holes was too big, and no matter what I did, the screw wouldn't tighten up. So I'm gonna send this back, and what I did is that I grabbed some dual lock, and that's how I hooked up the power supply beneath the board. Now, when I was doing that and I was about to finish setting up board, I thought, you know what? Let me try to get my Noble into the board. Because when I tried online on this website really cool called Pedal Playground, it barely fit. It would barely fit in the board. But I did it, and it did fit, but then the power button of the Noble was blocked. So I was like, damn. I really want to try to get the Noble somehow in the setup, because the idea was just to have a wireless unit, which I don't have at the moment, and the quad Cortex. But until I have the wireless, I wanted to try to use the Noble. So I was curious because I measured the belly case 1,000 times online, and I checked measurements, and I did my homework regarding dimensions of the interior of the case. But I was like, you know what, let's just give it a try. And I grabbed my Metro 20 board, which isn't supposed to fit, and it does fit. It fits like exactly the same, the proper length, and it can't be any longer, but the board fits. So that allowed me to get my quad Cortex and the Noble into the board, which is pretty awesome. So here's the result of the case, how I cut the foam. As you can see, I went all the way down. There's this thin layer only of foam there, and I am using the Metro 16 in the end and not the 20, because I noticed that the 20 does fit this case from one end to the other, but then the pedal board itself is right up against the wall of the case. Maybe nothing would have happened, but I didn't want to risk something falling right on top of this or something bumping into this and that the pedal board takes a hit. So I had to unplug everything and rewire the entire board, the Metro 16 one. And now at least I have some protection with the foam here. And if we take a look at the board, you see that, you know, I have the Noble on the first place here and not like on the left, and I'm not using, or I won't use, the XLR out of this. And that has two main reasons. One, this allows me to plug in my bass into the Noble, and that way I can send a DI signal and the quad Cortex signal in case that is needed sometimes. And the second reason is that if for some reason the quad Cortex dies, I can just keep using the Noble as a main signal and plug in here the XLR cable. The other way around, if the Noble was afterwards, then I would need to unplug my bass from the quad Cortex, plug it into a Noble, and depending on how I would put it on the board, either horizontally or vertically, access to the instrument input could be a bit tricky. I did test several versions, and this was the way I wanted to go, especially since I was not planning on using the Noble. Actually, I wanted to put just a wireless unit in here, so this is just temporarily. If I want to use the Noble in the future, I'm just gonna put it outside the board on the right or somewhere and just plug in as if I was just using a normal direct box. But right now this is working. The only disadvantage is that, and like I mentioned, I was not planning on using Noble, is that this switch is kind of between the edge of the quad Cortex and where the Noble starts. So stepping on this one is a bit difficult. I mean, it's nothing undoable. I just have to angle my foot a bit like this instead of stepping like this. It does work if I just step in with the tip of my foot, but I tested several times just plugging in and switching and stepping on different switches. This is the best if I just angle my foot at this way instead of having it straight, and it works. I just have to get used to it a little bit, but it is doable. And as I showed you before, here is how the power supply is mounted in the back. I've got the main cable. I have some loop ties or zip ties, also with some grips in there to keep everything nice and tidy. And the power supply is really flat, as you can see. It's very nice. Unfortunately, my board got all scraped from the Chuck's grip, but Thomann, the store, were kind enough and they refunded me the money for this. So I mean for the Chuck's grip, not for the board, but that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna be testing this in 2 days, so you're gonna see a vlog about that too. So I started doing all of this yesterday, so Tuesday, at 5 p.m. and I finished at 1:30 in the morning, and I was pissed. I was fed up that everything had taken so long and things didn't go as I wanted. Now, as you can see, this is the final setup, how it looks like in the end. The case is sitting inside the foam. I can place it there, and on top I can put some cables, the power cables as well, and then close the case, and everything works out nicely. And the power supply sits at the bottom of the pedal board, and there's some clearance so it doesn't rub against the floor there. And this is very cool. The Chuck's power supply works great. It is fairly expensive for a power supply, but it allows you to power at a massive amount of different pedals and with different voltages, and those multiple connectors allow you to power also pedals that need more juice, so to speak. So that's pretty neat, and it's also cool that they make these really low profile power supplies. So if you're interested or looking for a new power supply, this could be something that could be interesting for you. I have no affiliation with them. I paid full price, so maybe they're worth checking out if you want a power supply. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.